and beat an aggressive lineup. Well, I saw this matchup take place earlier. Dan and I have actually been playing a lot of Miracle Rogue on the side to try to get a little bit better insight into how the decks are working versus the aggressive decks, and I'm fairly convinced that Fan of Knives is critical in a matchup like this, and I'm fairly convinced that if I just had preparation and no Fan of Knives in my hand, that I'm probably going to keep preparation anyway.
I would agree with all of that assessment. I think against any board development deck, preparation is a very, very good keep. But it's against Old Paladin especially. Fan of Knives is just so key. The matchup is just so polarized around it because you don't really have other ways to challenge. Against some other aggressive decks, you can just like try and push out big minions early, just go for a Henge Clan, an Edwin, Faldori Strider kind of curve, whatever it is, and just try and race and be aggressive and force them to trade into you. You just can't do that against Old Paladin. They just get so wide that even if you get an 8-8 Edwin down, their 4 or 5 1-1s on the board just look way scarier than your 8-8 somehow.
Yeah, and the other thing to note too is that Corridor Creeper is a great card at punishing that mechanism as well, where you're trying to kill 1 minion at a time and then push your own damage.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they just get to add another 2/5 to the table, and your whole math game plan is thrown off. So when Saiyan throws his whole hand away there and he finds preparation, he's looking at it and going, oh, please Fan of Knives, please Fan of Knives, please. And now when he draws his Fan of Knives, I imagine he's feeling pretty good about this one. If he picks up like Faldori Strider on turn 4, this is the makings of a very winning hand, if that's the case. So the timing of that Fan of Knives for Just Saiyan is really the most paramount point. It's not so much that he has Fan of Knives and he's not just going to use it when he's got a great opportunity to get stuff online. He wants to use it when he can start counter-pressuring. And that's the key to that card.
So straight away, SamuelTsao had the decision between Argent Squire and Lost in the Jungle, to which my answer is Argent Squire. Essentially, they're the same thing, right? The Rogue daggers up, they take 1 damage, and you are left with a 1-1 on the board. That's the situation. However, an Argent Squire does not have additional late-game utility with a level up or with a Sunkeeper Tarim that you picked up from Stonehill Defender. Or a Fungalmancer, exactly. Those 2 targets within 1 card, those 2 Silverhand recruits within 1 card, I think are more crucial a card to potentially have in your hand for the long term than an Argent Squire.
I would say the one only thing that could be in his mind is discounting the Corridor Creeper as quickly as possible. The fact that he has Champion's Maul may weight him towards that decision, but I do tend to agree with you that I think that Lost in the Jungle is better at a certain stage than Argent Squire is. But, keeping in mind the Fan of Knives if SamuelTsao drops his Argent Squires the turn where Fan of Knives is going to be a good play, suddenly he keeps a couple extra 1-1s about.
That's a good point, too.
There's benefits and consequences to all these plays. And, frankly, here, I'm not convinced on the Champion's Maul just yet. I think it's good. But I think I wanted to see Fireflies and Argent Squires there.
Just leave the 3-3 uncontested. Just let it trade into you, kill it next turn.
I mean, I think Saiyan's going to go face when that happens.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think so.
All right.
SamuelTsao's looking for an early punish with level up. He's saying to Just Saiyan right here that you better have something to do.
Yeah. And here's the problem with even Fan of Knives in this matchup. Saiyan's drawn it early, which, most people think, okay, great, I've got my Fan of Knives, so I can clear a board early. But now, when this is used, it's not like the threat of level up just disappears. That card is going to remain in SamuelTsao's hand for the rest of the game, and he has an infinite source of resource generation from that double recruit hero power. So you need, your entire deck to be made of Fan of Knives to keep pressuring them out of doing this, unless you are able to tempo out on the turn where you fan. That's where you were making the prep point, right? Yeah. Early on, is that prep fan turn. And I think he's just going for it here, trying to pick up a minion from his deck if he whiffs. Gets the auctioneer.
Yeah, I don't think that's good enough. Something I was looking at this turn for Just Saiyan, actually, was as crazy as it sounds, using Dagger, playing 2 Fireflies, sapping one of the 1-1s, and then daggering the other. So you're facing down a 1-1, you have 2 1-2s on the table, and you still have prep Fan of Knives leading into your turn 5. So if SamuelTsao wants to level up, he's leveling up 1-1, is that right?
You wouldn't have a prep with that play, because two Fireflies are 2 mana, you're daggering up, you said, that's 2 mana as well, so you then have nothing left for the sap, so you'd have to be prepping the sap in that world.
Yeah, I don't really necessarily think that's a huge problem to have to prep the sap in that spot.
So you still have Fan of Knives in your hand, you just don't have prep fan.
So like you're using the Fan of Knives to get through your turn 5, and then hopefully just have something to do on turn 6.
Gotcha.
This way, he is quite strong, I'd say, to Corridor Creeper in this measure. And so you do make the sacrifice of being weak to Corridor Creeper in that spot. But long story short, there's a ton of ways that justsaiyan can play this out. And every step of the way, SamuelTsao has really strong counterplay, just depending on what part of his range he has in his hand. So Saiyan is it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, really. And the dump of the Argent Squires here, rather than the Firefly, I believe, is a nod to the Divine Favor that he has in his deck.
Sure.
If he manages to empty his hand, he can get something going. God, that was one card off.
The card off, yeah. He had a lot of outs. So he goes Prep Fan. He still had 4 mana available. So he can hit Edwin there, and it's insane because he then goes Firefly Edwin. He has his Hench Clans, which he can then play a Firefly alongside as well. And then he has the 2 Faldori Striders on top of all of that. So he had a lot of outs there with that Prep Fan. And sometimes that is the key to Miracle Rogue. You really have to understand the mathematics of what's remaining in your deck and play to those situations in a lot of spots.
And this spot right here, I want to see SamuelTsao get aggressive. I don't want to see him trade this Faldori Strider, honestly. Like, justsaiyan showed he cannot handle your board position. I think this was a turn to start pushing the damage, not only because you drew Leroy, but you have level up to go with it as well. So this still looks fine at the end of the day, but suddenly second Fan of Knives leaves you with, you know, 7 less damage than you just dealt. You'll lose your raid leader in the process, but that usually leaves you picking up the pieces with a level up here.
Yep.
So Saiyan is going literally for second Fan of Knives.
Spoot up. Valspine. Not good enough.
Yeah, when it's not a Fan of Knives here, it's just the slow bleed begins.
Yep. Just a dagger down the remainder of the raid leader. It's just cards reach a point where you just have to respect them over the Silverhand recruits, and raid leader is unfortunately in that category. As ridiculous as it sounds that you have to pay respects to raid leader in 2018.
Yeah.
In this economy. All right, can we get this level up rolling?
I mean, this economy's right, too. justsaiyan does not have a lot for sale, and that Gadgetzin Auctioneer does not have very good deals right now. This is a terrible deal. Unless you're SamuelTsao.
Yeah, he knows he's got the short end of the barter here. There is no answer in Miracle Rogue for a board state like this. Even with that 1/4/4 on board already, and with the Leroy backing all of this up, SamuelTsao looks like he is going 1 game away from meeting Hunter Ace in the finals.
SamuelTsao hasn't killed him just yet.
No.
There's one more opportunity for justsaiyan to get back into this, but it is going to take a chain of pretty much the perfect cards imaginable. I don't even know what that chain is. I'm just assuming it exists because that's how Miracle Rogue works. But justsaiyan is going to pretty much have to pick the cards he wants to draw, and you can't do that.
So Squire trades. Fungalmancer the other 2. Press your hero power button. Smack him in the mush.
Looks good. Smack him in the mush.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm just feeling especially British today. I don't really know why. It's just all coming out.
To me, it always seems like you're always especially British.
I'm sure to most people it does, yeah. Oh, I love you. Oh, SamuelTsao. This is a complete 180 from the way he was playing previously. He does not trade an Argent Squire into a 4-1. I did not count the numbers before I just let my mouth run as a caster. This is absolutely right because he can lose his whole board and he just has Leroy from hand to kill.
Yeah.
These are the spots that SamuelTsao, the last time he was on camera, was not recognizing. He had a very similar play where level up just hits the board, everything goes face, and then he has Leroy from hand to finish it off.
Yeah.
And he did not go all face. I love that he's now recognized this spot.
Yeah, like in this spot, even if Saiyan was able to double Eviscerate, double Cold Blood, and get rid of the 5/5 without investing damage, it's still not enough to win.
Yep.
You have to recognize